What's up? What's up? It's Billy Carson here, aka Forbidden Knowledge, with the number four. I have an amazing guest back on here again tonight, Gaven Sarial. Welcome back to the podcast, Gaven.
My man, how you doing?
All right, good, man. Good. Gaven has been on here with me before. We talk about economics, we talk about the US dollar, we talk about crypto. He actually owns a company which is phenomenal in teaching techniques in how to manage and run crypto, how to buy it, how to be a part of it, how to be a part of that industry. And he's done very well, as well as a lot of the people from my following that have been able to join forces with him and become students of him. And he's done a great job teaching them as well. And so tonight, as you can see, the title is What is Going On with the US Dollar? And it's going to be a forbidden rant. So we're ranting a little bit tonight because, a lot of people have been sending me messages, DMs. I've been getting so many emails. We're like getting overloaded with so many messages about the US dollar. Is the US dollar going to collapse? There's a lot of fear out there as to what's happening, what's going on, because we see that China is convincing other countries to apparently back away from the US dollar. There's some countries in Africa that are backing away from the US dollar. Russia, obviously, is not going to come back to the US dollar. And so we have the situation where what happens if everyone begins to back off from the US dollar? What's going to happen to the dollar? Are we going to be knocked into a third world situation with the dollar, or what do you think they're going to pivot to? So that's one of the reasons why not only am I going to rant on this, but I also want to have Gaven because he's an expert on the US economy, in my personal opinion. He's not a financial advisor, but let me tell you something. He's got some great insights. So, Gaven, what is your personal opinion on what's going on right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, we've got so many moving parts that it's just wild. And I'm sure, you've never seen anything like this. I think you're a few years older than me.
Yeah.
Not by much, but I think you and I kind of been in that generation where we've seen a lot and nothing like this. One of the things I have been studying is the history of economics, modern economics. And when I say modern, I say, probably going back even to the 1600s, where we had kind of this fiat currency boom, even though that's not where it started. But when you take a look at the rise and fall of empires, we're starting to see how that happens, how that's happening real time right now in the United States. And I don't, while I don't think it's going to happen, boom, just like that overnight, I think it's definitely happening, and it's kind of the death by 1,000 cuts right now. And the cuts are coming very rapidly. So, one of the things you and I have been talking about is like, hey, let's get on and kind of go through the different scenarios, right? Like what does it look like if China takes over? What does it look like if the US remains in power? And in my opinion, and my favorite economic tool is crypto, because it's decentralized in nature. And that's one of the things I'm going to rant about tonight.
Right. Okay. Yeah, definitely. And so what's interesting is, the more I really like to dig into the mainstream news, because obviously it's a lot of propaganda and a lot of hype, and you have to really sort through a lot of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I tap into foreign news to see what's being said about America, because is it also propaganda? Yeah, but a lot of the times I find that some of the foreign news give you a slightly more accurate depiction of what might be going on with the situation. For example, I remember all the way back when Obama was president, him and Hillary Clinton started a private war in Sudan. And this private war used US tax dollars, and they actually took the Sudanese people and moved them off their own land, because they had resources on that land, and put them out in the desert where they actually starved to death. 250,000 men, women, and children starved to death. You'll never see that on a US TV mainstream news station, that Obama and Hillary Clinton funded a private war with US tax dollars and then put private corporations on their land and profiteered from that. But when you go to foreign land, like foreign news, like Al Jazeera and so forth, I was able to find out a lot of information. Not only that, actual clippings from the news, which I use in several posts to educate people on what was going on. But again, that's just one example of how over here, you hear, mum's the word, you hear a slight peep here, a slight peep there. But when you go to a foreign news station, a lot of the times you get the full story. But what are your opinions as to what's going on with all these other countries, backing off the U.S. dollar?
I mean, they're pissed, man. They're pissed at the U.S. Like, the problem is that the U.S. has really weaponized the dollar. And I think that's the real issue here, is that it's like, if you don't listen to us, we'll sanction the hell out of you, or we'll like what they did with Russia. It was like $600 and some billion that they just pulled overnight as soon as they attacked Ukraine. Right. And, look, I'm not for any type of war at all. But I remember being like vehemently against the United States going to Iraq and invading, and they killed some like 400,000 people in Iraq, and I'm sitting here going like, man, nobody was there to go, we're going to sanction the United States, or maybe some countries did, but it really didn't do anything. Right. And so now what's happening is a lot of these countries are like, no, we're not going to stand for this. And this is what's happened with the BRICS coalition that they have set up, which is what is it? Brazil, India, Russia, South Africa, and China. Yeah. And all of these countries are like, we don't need the United States anymore, and now what's happened is, like, look at Saudi Arabia, right? Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil producer, is starting to go, wait a second, we want to also be able to sell oil in Chinese yuan. Mm-hmm. And look, and this is where, like, you actually kind of have to dig through the bullshit, because there is a lot of like Russian Chinese propaganda. All right, let's not sit here and go, it's all US. There's no way. There's a lot of Chinese and Russian propaganda where they're trying to make this a lot bigger than it really is. But the majority of especially large transactions in the world still use the dollar. It's 80% still. But where I started to get a little tripped up was with when at the beginning of this week, when Macron, the president of France, comes out and says we need to remove the reliance from the United States dollar. The thing that's really keeping the United States dollar from really crumbling is the relationship that it has with the European Union. And it is so tied with the European Union that it dwarfs the petrodollar, kind of unpegging that's going on with like China and Russia and all this stuff. So what if that starts to happen? The dollar has problems. I don't want to say we have problems, even though I'm from the United States, but the dollar has a big problem because now the thing that's really most backing it is starting to back off, and France is no weenie when it comes to the European Union. They're a big force to be reckoned with. So I'm sitting here going like, oh wow, okay, wait, with this, this may happen, a lot sooner than I thought it would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. When I look at the history just from the past 70 years, and I see how the U.S. dollar became so strong, it's really kind of shocking, because when you really analyze how the U.S. dollar became so strong, it became strong by military force, literally going from country to country and taking over those countries, installing a central bank, taking down the dictator, installing a puppet dictator, and going from country to country over and over again. I mean, all the way from back in the Reagan days, you go into all those, you go further, even back beyond Reagan, you just find that no matter where we go to a nation or an indigenous culture, we take them over with military force, install a puppet dictator, install a central bank, and we keep moving. And I think there's only about 3 countries left in the world right now that probably don't have a central bank. That's, that really controls all this fiat currency. And it seems like they're running out of places to go. I don't know if there's really anybody else to conquer. But now it's just all about how do you hold it all together. And the only thing we do have, which is our advantage, is the military force that we have.
Well, and you know this, but if you look throughout history, and I don't know if you've ever read or even listened to Ray Dalio's book, The Principles of the Changing World Order. Ray Dalio, this is a cycle, man. You and I both know cycles. History repeats itself, right?
Yeah.
And so they've been doing this since, they've learned how to kill people, essentially. Yeah. And it was funny. I was watching a movie on Alexander the Great the other day, and they did the same thing, right? They just go from one territory, they put their government, and then they move on to the next one and the next one until, there's that. I'm sure you've seen that meme, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it word for word, but it's like, hard times make strong men, men make good times, good times make weak men. And then the cycle starts all over again. And so, it's sometimes it's a little hard, Billy, because you're getting so much information now, right? Yeah. Like I think today I was out on a walk with my daughter, and I'm listening to this podcast, and the United States military is still a juggernaut. I mean, the United States military spends more than like China, Russia, India, Brazil, South Africa, all combined in their with their military. And so when you think about that, that's still a feat to be messed with, right? Like they're probably far in advance. The problem that I see right now is that, we can go deeper into this, but the United States is so divided. That's the big problem is, and I think that, the Chinese warfare, the Russian warfare right now is not going to be with missiles, even though they're attacking Ukraine. It's going to be social media making somebody red and somebody blue and wanting to almost die for it, where I just don't believe in that. I just don't subscribe to that, because they're all bullshit and they're all liars.
Listen, the way I see it is every lamb is led to slaughter. And so when you go down that left lane or that right lane with that red cap or that blue cap, at the end of that lane that you're going down there, there's somebody there waiting for you with a hatchet. Cut your head off. Every 4 years, they cut your head off again. That's why I always say, I don't vote for no presidents. I do not vote for a president. You'll never see me vote for. You know who I vote for? I vote for myself.
Yeah.
I go and stand in that line every 4 years. And when I get to the front of the line, I put my own name on the ballot and I put that in the box, because guess what? I am my own president, period. Amen. And to be quite honest with you, I really don't care what these clowns do, these politicians. I don't care what rules they make. I don't care what laws they make. I can care less. You know why? Because no matter what they do, they always leave an Easter egg.
Yeah.
You see, these elites, they will put the most craziest rules and legislation in place, but they always leave Easter eggs because they themselves have to survive and their families have to survive at a high level. Yeah. And so the key for me is just find the Easter eggs and follow their path through the matrix. And that's all I do. That's how I live. And I guess what? I live at the highest level nonstop.
Amen. That's right, man. No, I used to actually be a part of I used to live in Orange County, and I used to be a part of the Orange County Democratic Party. And I helped Jerry Brown, who is the governor of California. He had like this loophole where he was the longest standing governor, but he ended up coming at like really late 70s to run again. and I was one of the top fundraisers for that. And I got to have a really nice estate dinner with him and 3 other people and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, somebody always has them in their back pocket. And
that's right.
You know, I was actually in the law for 18 years and representing like injured workers for workers' comp and stuff like that. And, you know, he came in, we're going to, you know, be an advocate for workers and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, he needed to pass, I forget what it was, Prop 50 or something like that, where they were going to raise taxes on everybody by X amount. And again, this was back in like 2008 or 9, so I can't really remember specifics. And he went to Disney and Safeway, and they gave him like $50 million to run ads for Prop 50 in exchange for a backdoor deal to reform workers' compensation law. And they did it with no notice, literally no notice, just like that. And when I saw that, I said, I'm never voting for and raising money for another politician, because they're not Republicans and Democrats. They're Republicrats and Demopublicans. And that's what people don't realize. You know, you see all these things where George Bush is flying around on this huge plane with Barack Obama, and now we're buddy, but we talking shit back in the, you know what I mean? So all that, it's theater. It's theater designed for us to, no, I believe in this and you believe in that. And they keep you separated. But the way they do it is through the financial system. That's their biggest tool, because not enough people take the time to learn how the Federal Reserve actually works, how bonds actually works, how debt actually works, like on the macro level, not on the micro level, but on the macro level. And it is the largest business in the world that, well, it could go out of business one day, but for the most part has been able to stay in business despite the fact that it hasn't profited since the beginning of the Federal Reserve.
No money, no profits, no profits. Yeah, the only people profiting are the people that sit on the board of directors and the people that are, you know, on the corp. That money's funneling into their pockets, and we're talking about riches that are incalculable at this point. And you know, these people will never be in Forbes magazine. You're never going to see them posing in Forbes. They're not going to be in, you know, Entrepreneur. These people's income and family wealth is so extraordinary, you can't even count it. It's in the trillions of dollars.
Yeah, trillions.
Yeah, they've really capitalized off of us. Yeah, crazy.
And I have some billionaire friends. Friends. These guys roll on another level, and it's just like, wow, you know, the laws don't apply to them. The laws don't apply to them.
There's no laws. When you have the money, the laws shift. You know, and evidence of this is looking at a person that's a billionaire who gets convicted of a crime versus a person that's just a regular minimum wage worker and gets convicted of the same crime. You can go stat by stat. You'll find that the billionaire will be let off and slapped on the wrist more than the actual person who is just a middle class or minimum wage worker. They'll get the book thrown at them. So that's the way the system is set up. It's set up to punish the poor and to gratify, you know, the rich and the wealthy, because that billionaire, he's got so much money, he might be willing to put $1 million into a campaign fund next year. If this judge, they get this judge, take care of this guy, because get him off, because he's going to send money to the Democratic Party. He's going to send us $5 million when you get him off. I mean, this stuff is what goes on behind closed doors, behind the veil. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but that's the world that we live in right now. Which is more important why, you know, people like yourself and me have to be putting ourselves in position to sustain by, you know, doing things like becoming our own bank and looking at alternative ways of creating passive income and so forth.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, and that's, you know, when you look at this, even on a macro level, decentralization is starting to take place. So let's go back to, like, let's say BRICS, right? Yeah. the BRICS is trying to put together a basket of currencies that involves those five countries. So essentially they're creating their own coalition, right?
Yeah.
The issue is that there's probably a lot of people that are going to go, hell no, I don't want China controlling my money. I mean, there's a lot of people that think that way, right? And especially those that, you know, are probably from Asian countries where China is not their country, right? Or not trying to invade them. And so we've got the BRICS that I think is probably going to be something that's coming up. Then we have the United States dollar that's been around here for, you know, the last 120 years.
Yeah.
But then we've got the crypto world. Okay. And this is where things start to get interesting, because I think that there's going to be a third system, and this third system is going to be the most competitive one. Why? Because it's not governed by government. Right. And the finances live within the rules of gravity, right? Like, you know, me being in DeFi and being my own bank, right? Meaning I have custody of my own money and I invest my money like the bank does. Right. If I over leverage myself, I get liquidated. And I've been liquidated before. I wouldn't be a very good teacher if I didn't you know, get hit a few times, because sometimes you need to learn the lessons the hard way. Or in my case, I didn't even know what it was when I did it. And so, but I'm the type of person that just dives in head first. I want to learn, right? Yeah. So when I got liquidated, there was a consequence to it. But guess what? It made me a smarter investor. And I said, okay, now I know. And I said, I'm glad I got liquidated and none of my students did. Because then I went back to my students and said, hey guys, you can't max out the loan that you have here to 80%. Well, you can, but here are the risks. Gotcha. Right? Here are the risks. And so it made me a better investor, and in turn made my students a better investor. Yeah. On the flip side, the United States government, right, with all of these banks, they've over leveraged themselves time and time and time again. And yet the government comes running now because nobody wants to feel pain anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you hurt your back. Here's a pill. Oh, you're in pain because you got broken up with. Here's a pill, right? Here's a quick fix, as opposed to why am I experiencing back pain? How come I'm experiencing the depression, right? Right. Why is the banking system always getting bailed out, but yet we have this infinite amount of debt that keeps growing? What happens when that bubble pops? Nobody's asking that question. They just want the pill right now. Okay. All right. I can keep my house. I can keep, you know, I can keep my car. I can, you know, and it's by them keeping you in that little globe is what is really suppressing you. And it's what I call kind of the modern day slavery. It is. It's the modern day slavery. I don't participate in it because, like, I don't 9 to 5. It's like, really? You know, I either work 9 to 9 or I work 0 to 9, right? 0 to 0, right? But because I've made that time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom. But it's scary because, you know, when you're living in the globe, you don't know what's outside of the globe. And there's things that are ready to kill you if you get out of the globe, right? Yeah. Right. But at the same time, you're living a freer life. You're living a life that's not by their standards, by their guidelines. I mean, Billy, could you imagine, like, you and I in an office, like, you show up 9 and you go home at 5, and we sit around and we talk around the water cooler? I mean, dude, really? I couldn't do it. That's not my cup of tea. Now, some people, that might be their thing, but for me and you, that's just not our thing. And being in that matrix, it really suppresses your creativity. A lot of people think that their money comes from their employer.
The money doesn't come from the employer. The money comes from your creativity. Yeah. Money is just an instrument. That's what they call it. Don't they call it an instrument? It's a source of an energy exchange. But people get locked away into this cycle and this system because you got to get a good job and you got to work till you're 65. And when you retire, you're going to have this thing and then you can travel. By the time you start traveling, your bones hurt and you're too old. You can't even enjoy the trips. You can't yet. You're taking trips in wheelchairs. And so people don't learn how to live now. And because they don't learn that there's other ways to create passive income to take themselves to the next level and their family and their future generations to the next level, they fall into that little trap. Like you say, they're in the globe and they can't see that they've been trapped in a matrix. But once you break free, there's a little bit of pain getting out of that globe. Once you break free of that matrix globe, like you and I did, you see the dangers and things that are out there, but at the same time, you establish a parameter for yourself. You establish a freedom, and we learn to navigate through that new era, that new location that we're in. And we learn how to create a heaven for ourselves. And that's what I'd like to pass on to people, teach them the capability to break free of that globe, that snow globe, and get out and see what the real world is all about, but also understanding how to maneuver and create opportunities for yourself. Because the elites of the elites, they all have all these big oligarchs and all these big poly tricksters. They operate on a system where there's Easter eggs. And the proof of this, Donald Trump doesn't pay taxes. And when they questioned him about not paying taxes, he said, you made the laws, I follow your laws. You should call me a genius.
Yeah.
You see? And so if we all knew those Easter eggs, none of us would be paying taxes. Because why? Yeah. It's already broken down. It's in a system of laws. You have to know how to connect the dots. And I spend my life and you spend your life learning and navigating through these matrices, connecting dots so that we can maneuver, utilizing what the big oligarchs, what the big kingpins use, so we can have a good and fruitful life versus being at that desk in that cubicle and going to the water cooler, to talk about the Kardashians every day and then punch out and go home, watch some TV on the couch until we start drooling on ourselves and lay down and do it all over again. That ain't the life. That's prison.
No way, man. When you, and look, and like my tool is cryptocurrency, right? Yours is information and history, right?
Yeah.
That's the way we make passive income. I'm not here saying ours is the only way to do it, right? Like you may be passionate about, like, let's say for me, I was in the law. Like I read The 4-Hour Workweek. I don't know if you've ever read that book by Timothy Ferriss. And I read it and I just learned how to become more efficient. So I literally got so efficient. I was able to take myself out of my job, but I was making double the amount of money living wherever I wanted to, you know? And so but before that I was a slave to my job. Like I literally had to show up and all this stuff until I, set everything up paperless. And I had logmein.com. I don't know if you remember that, even if it's still around. And I was able to log into my computer remotely and all this stuff. And it could be something that you're just passionate about, but you're not thinking outside of the box, right? And there's so many ways to do that now. There's so much technology that allows us to do that and so that, like you said, Billy, you don't get to the time where you're, like right now in France, they're fighting because they're trying to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. I'm like, who cares? You're still in your 60s, right?
You're still in your 60s, man. Like you're still.
Yeah, and look, I'm sure some of your viewers are that. Don't feel bad. Like you're never. Look at Colonel Sanders. He started his business at 80 and thrived, right? But you got to change your mind. You got to change that thought pattern. Right? Because if you stay stuck in the same thought pattern, the same result will keep coming over and over again. But if you change the thought pattern, wait a second, I don't have to be at my desk all day long. Let me try working from Turks and Caicos or Panama or the other side of the world if you want, wherever. Where life is way cheaper. You get a lot more bang for your buck. And you can do still the same things. And maybe you have even some virtual assistants helping you do all the stuff you don't want to do. And you only focus on the stuff that you do want to do. That only takes you 2 hours a day, you know? And now you're making double the amount of money because you have like employees that you're paying even from your payroll, right? So that you can go scuba diving or surfing or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that just so many people don't think like that. And so, you know, like they look at people like you and me and they're like, oh, that's too hard. You can't accomplish. No, because at one time, Billy Carson wasn't even there, right?
I wasn't close to there. I was knocking on people's doors trying to get donations just so I could have a couple of dollars to get something to eat. You know what I'm saying? Sleeping on the beach, homeless, you know, in the 80s and, you know, in the early 90s, early 90s. And so it's like, man, what does it take though? It takes what you said though, a shift in your consciousness, a shift in the way you think. And also a little bit of courage to jump out there, spread your wings and fly, you know? And this is what we have to do. We have to start teaching our kids from an early age, like, hey, you know, it's gonna come to a point where you're gonna have to spread your wings and fly. You know, when you're in the eagle's nest, you know, they just kick you out of the nest. Either you fly or you get eaten by the wolves below.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've come to the point now where too many people are just babying these kids so long until they're in their 30s and their 40s. Now you have 40-year-old grown men, 40-year-old grown women that don't know how to take care of themselves. And they're stuck in the matrix, the prison mental financial system where they're just going to this place for most of the day. You know, you wake up in the morning and you got to drive to work. That's an hour. And now you got to go to work. That's another 8. Then you got to drive back home. That's another hour. In between, you got to also eat food. That's 2-3 hours of just eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, by the time you turn around, 12, 13 hours is already gone. Then you got to sit down. You got to hopefully talk to a spouse or a second half or a kid or something like that. Or maybe you watch a couple TV shows. Another hour and a half, 2 hours is gone. Now it's time to just do some chores, lay down and do it all over again. Your life is being drained. You're being sucked dry by energy vampires. And just so you can have that good old dollar in your pocket. But the dollar that you get in your pocket is gone before it gets to your pocket because it's already pre-spent, because you're living higher than your own means in most cases. Everybody's living, they're not even living paycheck to paycheck anymore. Now people are living day to day. So we have this situation and this is becoming almost like a virus where people are living like this and it's catching on. And the more I look, the more I see people living this type of a lifestyle. And I'm scratching my head going, what in the world is going on here? I mean, can you see and you read between the lines? Like, this is not living. You're alive, but you're not living. That's the problem we have.
Right. Well, and it's getting, you know, a little scarier and scarier because, you know, getting back, by the way, I didn't finish my thought on this. So there's the 3 systems. There's the dollar, there's there's Chinese yuan, and then there's crypto, right? And I think as people start to really see that these governments are insolvent and it's a trick, it's a debt society, right? I think when people figure that out, they're gonna see, wait a second, I'd rather go to the competition. And Elon Musk talked about this a few months ago, where he's like, cryptocurrencies are going to become competition for the governments, and they're going to have to compete. Now, it's not going to be overnight, because things don't happen overnight until they do, I guess. But I truly think, and that's why we're seeing a rise in the crypto market again, right? Because people are just like, wait, if I have my money in the bank and the banks goes insolvent, you and I did a thing about it 30 days ago or something in regards to that. The bank goes insolvent, like, what happens to my money, right? Well, if you have $250,000 and it's FDIC insured, you're under 250,000, you should be good. I've read things against that, but that say differently, that the FDIC is also insolvent, but I don't know enough about that to say that they truly are. And I don't want to spread any FUD. But then what happens if the dollar crashes? And I saw a podcast the other day where he goes, you know, the guy says, you know, a friend of mine called me up and said, dude, I'm kind of freaked out. You know, he called him up in March and he goes, you know, what happens if my dollar loses 50% of its value overnight. And it got my mind thinking, right? Because I was just in Lebanon where their dollar went down by 90%, but I'm like, even 50%, I'm like, wow, that's going to be a big thing. And the podcaster goes, dude, from 2019 to now, it already has gone down by 50%. And when he said that, I was like,
wow.
Oh, wow. You know, like I didn't necessarily feel it quite as much because a lot of my net worth is in crypto and assets that are, you know, yielding very good returns and outperforming inflation. But I was sitting there going like, oh, wow. With like, you're the frog in the boiling pot, right?
You don't even know you're cooking. You don't even know
you're cooking.
Yeah.
You don't even know you're cooking it. And that's the problem that I think a lot of people aren't realizing right now. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of us have seen that decline. Like the dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power since inception, but that's not limited to the dollar. Let's not,
it's not.
That's Portugal. That's Rome. That's Spain. That's ancient China, which was the first fiat currency, you know, like England, all of them have done the exact same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. Right.
And so that's why, you know, I've really just dedicated my life to teaching people how to get out of that matrix, because that's exactly what it is. It's designed to keep you in until, you know, I'm not in a jacuzzi. I'm cooking here. You know?
Right. You're cooking. You think you remember that scene in The Matrix where the guy, he goes to meet with the agents and they give him this nice juicy steak and he's like, this steak tastes so good. I just want to stay in the Matrix. He was cooking and he didn't even know it.
He was cooking. Yeah, in the first second they killed him. They killed Cypher.
Yeah. Right away. Hey, you out of here. He was in the pot cooking. He had no idea. And a lot of people are in that position where they're cooking in that pot. They have no clue what is going on. Before you go a little bit deeper into crypto and talking about what we've been doing, I want to give people a little bit of history lesson on how inflation started in the first place, in case they've never heard me talk about this. Inflation was installed all the way back in ancient Sumeria, which is out of the area called Mesopotamia, now modern day Iraq. And we know this because we have the Sumerian tablets, which were left behind, over 1 million tablets, which have been discovered and documented and been in Cambridge and British Museum. They're in museums all over the world. We have what we call IOUs, stone IOUs, where people were utilizing these IOUs written in cuneiform on wet clay that hardened into stone as fiat currency in the ancient past. And the Anunnaki are the ones responsible for this. These Anunnaki, they came down, this is according to the Sumerians, not according to Billy Carson. Read the tablets. They had a situation where, I tell you, a good book to read about that is called The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. And all the sources are quoted in this book. And what's interesting is they set up a monetary system that was based on inflation. This is over 6,000 years ago, where if I had, I was a farmer and I had lamb, right? And then you were a farmer, but you had apples, an apple orchard. You would bring me two sacks of apples to exchange for one lamb, right? That was about the equivalent value for the barter and the trade. I would come bring you the apples, you would give me the lamb, boom, boom, done deal. I would come back because I need another lamb now because Passover is coming. And these Anunnaki people, they gave us these rules. We got to abide by these religious rules. So now I come and I bring you the 2 satchels of apples. You don't have a full lamb to give me because so many people want lambs for Passover. Lambs are on high demand now. So we have a demand situation going on. So now my 2 satchels of apples are only worth a half of a lamb. And then I'm going to give you an IOU for the second half of the lamb. You can come back and get that at another time. I walk away with a half of a lamb and this stone tablet, which has been evidenced and cataloged now in history. I then come back to get my half of a lamb, but because of supply and demand continuing to increase, I was already on back order. Now I'm down. That IOU is now only worth 1/4 of a lamb. So I'm going to give you 1/4 of a lamb for the IOU that says you were supposed to get a half a lamb, and you got to deal with it. That's the best we can do, you see? Or you can bring some more apples along with that IOU, and now you can get a half or a full lamb, depending on how many extra apples you bring me. So this system just came into place, and it really drove inflation crazy. We're talking about thousands and thousands of years ago, the same system. They also installed the bicameral Congress and all of that. The red and blue hat was put on in ancient times. That's the same system we're operating under today. And that's the reason why we're living under the fiat currency system. It was based on the information that was brought to us by the ancient Sumerians. Pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. No, and you know, like a lot of people say that, you know, Bitcoin was created by the good aliens. I hope it was, because you know, it really, you know, I have a meme up here. Can I put it on the screen?
Yeah, put it up. Put it up.
Let me put it up. Let me see here.
How do we?
Share screen.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So can you guys see that?
There it goes.
Yeah. So like, you know, back in 1998, this was how much $20 would get you at the grocery store. And it just keeps going down. 2005, 2014, now 2021. I mean, it gets you nothing, right? Where Bitcoin got you basically in 2012 what you had in 2014, and then 2013, then 2014, and now 2021. You know, it's got the new Tesla truck, and that you know, that's what happens when you have sound money. That's what happens when you have money that actually doesn't inflate and is governed by code and reasoning. This whole thing where, okay, well, let's print money. Let's have a soft landing. We need to stimulate the economy. Now, I lived in the jungle last year, Billy, for 4 months.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, but I like civilization. It's a lot of fun. But, you know, one of the things, I would go walking outside every day. It's a very slow life. And when you see how nature works, sometimes it's not exactly the easiest type of thing. Like you see this, we're in the middle of Costa Rica, my girlfriend and I, and the most beautiful birds, toucans, you know, just crazy animals, monkeys, so lush, green. It was beautiful. Yeah. But in order for that beauty and that harmony to survive, it was a very violent and at sometimes very volatile ecosystem, because where we lived was next to a volcano called Volcán Arenal, which, by the way, you probably know about this. It was like the first documented where they actually the United States accepted that it was real, picture of a UFO. And so, but when you saw the volatility sometimes, I mean, that volcano exploded. It sent boulders, I mean, 3-4 tons, 2 miles into the atmosphere, and demolished 3-4 miles all around it. But then it created such lush, fertile ground. I mean, you could put a seed of anything in there and it would grow. And it was that real red, you know, like, you know, the red dirt that's like, oh man, you make a baby in that dirt, right?
Yeah. It's full of nutrients. All the raw minerals that are needed to sustain life and create life. Yeah.
And so sometimes things like that need to happen. You know, I've had life events. I had cancer back in 2018. That was my wake-up call. That was when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about this whole thing. But my life was very volatile at that time, right? But that was my wake-up call. You were sleeping on a beach
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we need a hard landing, guys. This is the algorithm, and it's not always going to be safe and pretty, but eventually you're going to have this lush, beautiful, thriving environment that you can't control. Nature is its own rhythm, its own algorithm. And so we're a part of it, whether we like it or not. I mean, you can, we have medicine, we have this, we're smart. We're a part of the algorithm. You know, we're a little bit smarter. I don't know. Sometimes I see some of these animals and I'm like, man, why are we?
Listen, let me say something. Yeah. I think some of these animals, for example, dolphins, killer whales, elephants, I think they're magnitude smarter than human beings.
Yep.
The only difference between us and them is that they don't have appendages that can manipulate the environment called hands.
Yeah.
And we, as ignorant as we are at times, we do have these appendages that can manipulate the environment, giving us the capability to shape and reshape our environment. Whereas if we didn't have these, we'd probably be at the bottom of the totem pole. Yeah. But those animals, to me, are much more smarter than human beings, like magnitude smarter.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. So, you know, like, anyways, the long and the short of it is this. We probably have some hard economic times ahead of us. Is everybody going to die? No. If you really know where to look for the opportunity, it's there. Look at some of the best companies that have come up from recessions, you know, Uber, Airbnb, Facebook, all of these companies have done that. And we're starting to do that on the crypto side and on the decentralized finance side, except we've now gotten smarter and go, no, you should own all your data. You should. And you should get paid to show advertisers that. That's the blockchain, guys and gals. That's Web 3.0. No, you should be your own bank. So if Billy wants to lend me money, then Billy shouldn't go put it in the bank. The bank takes it and lends it to me and then takes the entire amount except for pittance, right? And that's what Web3 and DeFi is really doing. And, you know, the traditional finance guys, the life insurance guys, the stocks guys, they're horrified of this stuff. One, because they don't understand it, but it's going to take them out of business. And it is going to make for a better world. Is the crypto and DeFi market perfect right now? No. But the volcanoes exploded, and now is the juicy stuff where things really start to come together. Things really start to shape nicely, just like nature, because there was nobody there to bail out the crypto. And I'm glad that the government didn't intervene. You can keep your money. Thank you. We'll do ours. We'll fail. Yeah. We'll fall, but we'll pick ourselves back up. Thank you. Right?
Yeah. Listen, no bailout money there. Yeah, I remember when the real estate market collapsed in 2008, and you know, the president of the United States at that time was then authorized to come up with all this bailout money. And they took that bailout money and they gave it all to the banks. That was the Obama administration. Gave all that money to the banks, gave these CEOs and these executives of the banks that robbed America, these parachute, you know, these gigantic golden parachute dollar amounts to send them off into their beautiful retirements, completely fat like fat cats, and let the American people starve at the at the end of that collapse. And so you see that this whole bailout system they have is only predicated upon doing one thing and one thing only: continuing to grease the pockets of the people that grease their pockets. Period. Point blank. It's all poly tricks.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, you know, we're you know this because I've been working with you now almost 6 months.
Yeah.
We're showing people how to you know, dodge these poly tricks, right? Do some Bruce Lee stuff on that. And that, in my opinion, is DeFi, because DeFi, they can't stop it. They're trying. They can't, though. They're sitting there like, what do we do? And again, in my opinion, this is the third option, and this is their biggest competitor. Even though it's the smallest one, even though it's the smallest one right now, it's their biggest competitor. And and now we're starting to see a shift in politicians, because what they want to do is this. They want what's called a country-backed digital currency. Now, what is that? It's a cryptocurrency. But what a lot of people don't realize is that cryptocurrency is programmable money. Okay. Yep. And the banks are now starting to go, whoa, time out. We don't want these CBDCs either, because they're what the government will do with the CBDC, and China's already doing it. It's a direct link to you and I as a consumer. So there's no more bank. There's no more Visa. There's no more MasterCard. It's just you have an account, a wallet that is at the central bank. The problem is this, and I hope this video gets circulated 1,000,000 times, because here's the issue. If people don't realize that CBDCs are just the same, except you've got a direct link to the government. They're not backing it by gold or oil or silver or Bitcoin. They're backing it by the full faith of the United States government. That's not enough for me. That's not enough for me. It is not tangible enough. And I don't like the way the United States government handles their business. Their business, if I were to look at it from an investor standpoint of view, I would say, why would I ever invest in that company? It has lost money since day one, and their father keeps bailing them out every year. That's it. That's it. So
bars.
Yeah. So when you learn that that currency defies gravity, nothing can defy gravity for too long. It's part of the algorithm. Okay. They may be able to trick for a certain amount of time, which they have up until this point. But now the cat's out of the bag with crypto, with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, and decentralization. And so people are going to go, wait, if I keep my dollar, it could keep declining, because even though the dollar's gone down by 97%, it can still go down by another 97%. Okay. As long as there's still meat on that bone, it can keep declining and declining and declining until your money is worth a fraction of what it was before. And so what we do is we teach people how to get out of that system and get into a new system, so that you have your own bank with your own bank accounts, earning your own interest. Okay. And you can do anything now with crypto. You can buy fractionalized real estate and earn 8 to 10% per year. You can be the New York Stock Exchange. And these aren't things, guys and gals, that are Ponzi schemes or multi-level marketing. We don't do any of that. It's simple. We're running on the blockchain to provide services peer-to-peer. I want to do business with you, but I want code that ensures that our contract between each other, if that's a trade or a loan or whatever, is going to be what it's going to be. And that's what DeFi and crypto allow us to do. And you've been experiencing that now for like 6 months.
Yeah, it's been amazing. You know, my dollar cost average has been incredible. My returns have been incredible. And it's something that really has, you heard me talk on a live before I met you that I wanted to start my own bank. And through the universe, just making these connections, I end up getting, through Matthew and getting directly to you as well, you and Matt. And then now, you guys have allowed me to begin and start my own bank, which has now been up and running for months and earning money. And so where people get lost, and I was lost as well in this whole crypto thing, for example, is going out and buying individual coins on these big apps and thinking that you're investing in crypto. You're not investing in crypto.
Yeah.
That's not what you're actually doing. No. Is when you're buying on these big, these big apps. There's another way to do it, which you have become so skilled in teaching, in how to fund liquidity pools, how to be in managed accounts and managed funds and so forth. And that's what you put me into and allowed me to utilize my capital as becoming my own bank and have more control over my own destiny, which is really incredible. So I've been dropping the link in the chat while you were talking for people who want to get a consultation from you. Fill out that form and get a contact. You get a link to a webinar. Somebody may give you a call to explain it to you a little bit more. But for me, what I've seen so far has been absolutely mind-blowing. And I remember initially when I first got involved and I started funding, this thing, Elizabeth, my fiance, she was like a little bit like, yeah, I don't know. And then she saw the account go from here to here. And she was like, wait a minute. What do I got to do again? So now she's become a student of the ARC program that you started. And I'm still a student of your ARC program. I'm a student, guys. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And at a point, I became ready. When I talked to the universe, I spoke to the universe and I said, I want to start my own bank. And as soon as I spoke that out of my mouth, that cymatic frequency went forward into the universe, creating undulations and vibrations and tangled with my conscious thought. That information then got downloaded into Matthew Egan, who then transferred that knowledge over to Gavan. And those two had a conversation. And next thing you know, I got a contact. You want to set up your own bank? This is how you do it. And then guess what I did? The universe responded to my request. And I didn't dilly-dally around and shuffle my feet and start talking to this person and that person. You know what I did? I took action. And because I took action, the bank was opened. And now I see the profits of being in that bank. And so it's an amazing thing when you speak it into existence and the response comes back and you take action. But I tell you one thing, if you don't take action, nothing's going to happen. And so if you want to start the process by getting a consultation, click that link that I dropped in the chat, fill out that form, and learn a lot more. And maybe if it's for you, you can become a student of the ARC like I did and learn how to become your own bank.
Yeah, and those are all very kind words, Billy. I appreciate that. And here's the thing, that link actually is going to get you a consult with one of our onboard specialists. And we're not like most companies out there where we're going to grind you and sell you. We actually do that so we make sure that we're a good fit, because this isn't going to be a good fit for everybody. All right. But for those of you who are interested, who want to learn a new way, okay, we've got it. We're the best in the world. We're the best in the world teaching this stuff right now. And it's bleeding edge technology. But that's, in my opinion, how you really make that life-changing money. And it certainly has been a life changer for me. And I think we're still at the very, very beginning of this. Not financial advice. You need to go down the rabbit hole yourself. But I can show you a few tricks along the way to make it manageable. And me and my team, we've got a great team. We probably have about 20 staff now. And our community is about 1,000 students and growing. And it's a really cool, fun place to be. Billy's helped us out tremendously. Billy's because he believes in this stuff. And I'm forever grateful to Billy. But this is a new thing, guys and gals. And it's changing the world. And if the sooner you learn this, the better off you're going to be from one of those three systems. Because I guarantee you they're coming down. Either you're going to take your chances with the American dollar, with the Chinese yuan, or you choose. Do you trust the Chinese yuan? I mean, I don't. I have Chinese friends. They're great, man. They've got a great culture. They're great people. I love their history, but I don't want my money. And especially China, they've created a cryptocurrency. That's what's going to come out. And they're going to go, we're going to back it by gold. But here's the problem. When they become the world reserve currency, and they may, okay, let's say 10, 20 years from now, 5 years, whatever it is, they're still going to have the ability to cancel you with one stroke of a button, like the United States did to Russia and many other countries that didn't agree with them, except if you say something on TikTok or if you say something on Instagram that does not benefit them or that they do not like, they can cancel you, not from TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, from your bank account or wallet directly.
Yep.
What do you want? Do you want that level of oppression?
Mm-hmm.
And the United States isn't too far off from that. There's a lot of senators. Senator Warren is one of them. She's creating an anti-crypto army. Well, we have a crypto army, and she better know what she's up against here, because we ain't going down. Because those of us who have gotten that taste of freedom, we're not letting go of it.
No, not at all. And, you touched on a really hot topic, which we talked about in a previous video, the fact that when you get on that Fed system or that governmental system that's digital, with the stroke of one button, they can delete you. And we know that they can do it because they've already done it. If you look at an example just of Kanye West in a situation he was in with Adidas, where a lot of his money contractually was tied to his Apple account, his Apple Finance account, his Apple Pay. He went to go spend some money one day and he discovered that the transaction failed. Not only did it fail, when he called in to check on his account, it was zero balance. Millions had been wiped clean from his account. At the stroke of a button, somebody said digital currency, he breached contract, we're just going to erase his money. And I'll take that to a governmental scale where they're looking at everything, they're probing everything you're doing, everything you're saying. The second they feel like they don't like you or like what you have going on, they'll just press a button and delete you. And then you'll be dropped into instantaneous poverty at the drop of one button.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I don't trust that for 1 second. And my parents lived through, 1959 in Cuba, where my grandfather owned $1 million business back then. Okay. And he had an airstrip and all this stuff. And in one day, they took everything away, and he never made it out. He was 50 years old, and it wiped him out. And he didn't have the heart to go back out, because they truly ripped out his soul and crushed it. And so, that I'm not waiting around for that. I'm setting myself up to be independent, because I'm an adult and I know what's best for me. Joe Biden doesn't know what's best for me. Donald Trump doesn't know what's best for me. Billy Carson knows what's best for Billy. Gavin knows what's best for Gavin. And this is one of the things that we do teach guys and gals in the course, because you gotta kind of pick up your balls. I hate to say it, but you gotta do it. You gotta do it, because I promise you, Kamala Harris isn't gonna do it. Ted Cruz isn't gonna do it. None of these people are gonna do it. You have to do it for yourself. And we want to teach you how to do that. Am I going to say here live on Forbidden Knowledge TV that it's going to be easy and painless and you're never going to get hurt? No. You're probably going to get a little scuffed up. This is crypto. All right. This is not a 10-year T-bill bond from the United States government, which is turning out to be crap anyways. Yeah. But those are the things that teach us, guys and gals. Those are the things that teach us. Are we going to show you the easiest ways to do them? Are we going to, make it less painful? Or am I going to make it as painful as it was for me? No way. That's why we have been the best. But are you going to lose? Any investor has lost. The best. Ray Dalio, Warren Buffett, the best of the best have lost money. Okay. But those are the lessons that you learn that make you stronger. And these are the things that we teach you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible. And, I just want to thank you for hopping on here tonight. I've dropped the link in the chat. So please click that link. It's also in the caption of this video or this audio podcast, wherever you're listening to it. Click that link, get a free consultation. It may be something for you. You may have been thinking or speaking out to the universe to say, hey, I'm looking for a way to create passive income, something I can do while I work my job or do what I currently do and generate income on the side to help build a better future in life for my family, something a little bit more stable than what's going on in the mainstream economy. This might be for you. And if you think it's for you, get a consultation. I dropped the link in the chat one last time. And Gavan, thanks for hopping on tonight. Tell the people where they could find you on social media.
Yeah, it's at Wealth Renegade on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, but I'm not a fan of it. But mostly on Instagram is really where I post the most, and LinkedIn. But yeah, it's the same thing, at Wealth Renegade. You can find me there, and hopefully you guys like the content.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, you're a great teacher, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You've been helping to inspire thousands of people to change their lives. And I'm glad that I personally am glad that I met you in person and I've been witnessing this.
Amen. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. And it's reciprocal, my man. You've taught me so much, even before I even knew you.
Wow. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right, guys. I'm going to let you sign off now, Gavan, and I'm going to wrap up. All right. Peace,
all right,
man. All right. Listen, guys, what an amazing talk again tonight with Gavan. Just a little bit of rant there, the forbidden rant on the U.S. dollar, the status of the U.S. dollar. I know some people were asking earlier what book I had mentioned. I mentioned The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. Make sure you look up that book, The Gods, plural, The Gods, G-O-D-S, of Eden, E-D-E-N, by William Bramley, B-R-A-M-L-E-Y. Check that book out. Pretty interesting book. You'll find out where this whole thing started thousands and thousands of years ago with the source material. The receipts are in the book. You'll know exactly what's being taught to you. And you can find really anywhere on any general Google search. Just type in bicameral Congress Sumerians and you'll find all kind of mainstream sources that tell you who started this whole political polytrickster system that we're living under, who started this whole fiat currency, fake money, garbage system that we're all living under in this financial matrix, who put it together and how it was put on mankind to force us to bear the load and to suffer and struggle. And so it's time for us to learn how to evolve through that, because guess what? Like I said, they always have the Easter egg. The Easter egg is there. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't mean they're celebrating Easter. In a video game, there's Easter eggs, right? This is what the kids talk about. There's little shortcuts and hidden secrets inside the game to help you get to the next level. That's what I'm talking about when I say Easter egg. The billionaires, the oligarchs of the world, the polytricksters of the world that help put this stuff into legislation, these big people, the people that lobby, the lobbyists that put out big money to force crazy laws that hold us down. You don't think they've put the Easter egg in the documentation to allow them to escape the punishment and allow them to escape the prison that they're putting us in? It's there. It's always there. And my job and your job should always be to find those eggs so you can navigate through this matrix just like they do. They create the rules and the laws, and then they just navigate through them because they are the ones who set it up from the beginning. They left breadcrumbs, and it's your job to follow those breadcrumbs. Follow their trail because they're the ones that set it up. See, they know that some people will find the trail. They're okay with that because the masses are too lazy and in their minds, too ignorant to even discover them and know they're even there. They'll just fall in line like we told them to. Even though we're supposed to be working for them, we got them thinking that they work for us. And they got you pimped, sucking the blood life force out of you at every turn. When they left all the Easter eggs, when they left the breadcrumbs right there in front of your face, the crumbs are right underneath your nose. Like I said, they came down on Donald Trump for not paying taxes. He turned around and said, hey, this is the presidential debate. He said, hey, it's your rules. I'm following your plan. You guys laid this out. You should call me a genius. I'm just following what you guys left the breadcrumbs there. I'm just eating the breadcrumbs and taking the path right on through like you taught me to. I'm not doing anything special. Find these breadcrumbs, find these Easter eggs, start navigating this matrix, and stop voting for presidents. Vote for yourself. Write your name on the ballot when this election comes. Put that in the box and walk away with your chest out and your head up, knowing that you're going to take control of your own life and your family's life. Period, point blank. All right? Guys, I got to run. I love y'all. Thanks for joining me on this live tonight. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for all the chat donations and everyone that contributed. All right? We love you guys. Again, become your own president. All right?